Ever heard terms like position management or calibration and kind of felt like you were missing something? Yeah, you're not alone. Today, we're going to demystify SAP SuccessFactors, breaking down its core concepts into a simple, logical journey. Let's dive in. Every complex system out there exists to solve a really fundamental problem. And for a modern business, maybe the biggest challenge is this: how do you manage your most valuable asset? And nope, it's not the fancy tech or the buildings. It's the people. Simple as that. Every single term we're about to cover is designed to support, manage, and ultimately empower them. So with that in mind, let's see how this whole thing actually works. To make sense of it all, we're going to follow a really logical path, the employee journey. We'll start with the bare bones, the digital foundation, then move into the day-to-day management of people, see how performance is driven, how talent gets rewarded, and finally, how all this data shapes the future of the company. First things first, the digital HR foundation. See, before you can do anything cool like manage people or plan for the future, you have to build the digital infrastructure of the company itself. This is square one. So, think of the SuccessFactors Foundation as the digital skeleton of your company. It's the core infrastructure, the thing that holds all the basic employee data and user profiles. Everything else, and I mean everything, plugs into this.
Okay, so if the foundation is the skeleton, then organizational management adds the muscle. This is where you actually map out the company's blueprint. Who reports to whom, what the different departments look like, and how all the teams are structured.
Of course, with all this sensitive data, you absolutely need security. That's where role-based permissions, or RBP, come in. They act like a digital bouncer, making sure a manager can only see their own team's data and an employee can only see their own stuff. It's what makes the whole system trustworthy. All right, so with our digital foundation built, we can now start doing the fun stuff, managing the people and the positions they hold. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty, the day-to-day reality of HR.
Now, this is a really important concept to get. Position management separates the job from the person. Think of it like this. Your company has a senior analyst position. Even if the person in that role leaves, the position, the empty chair, still exists, and that is absolutely critical for planning your future hiring.
Now, people interact with the system in two main ways. Managers use something called manager self-service to do things like approve vacation requests or kick off a promotion. Meanwhile, every single employee has a people profile, which is basically their one-stop shop for all their personal HR info.
A perfect everyday example of this is time off. An employee puts in a request for a vacation, it pops up for their manager to approve, and it all happens right there in the system. It's a simple little function that shows just how seamlessly the system connects everyone to these core processes.
Okay, so we've got people in their positions and we're managing their daily needs. What's the next logical step? Well, it's helping them and the business actually succeed. This section is all about performance and growth. The performance cycle isn't just a bunch of random tasks. It's a really clear workflow. You start by setting clear goals. Then you gather feedback from everyone around you. Then there's a process to make sure the ratings are fair across the company. And finally, you use all that info to build a real plan for your career. So what makes these SMART goals? It's not just a buzzword. The system actively helps you write them. It uses machine learning to look at company-wide data and then suggests goals that are not only ambitious, but also perfectly lined up with what the business is trying to do. This brings us to a really important term for fairness: calibration. Basically, this is a process where all the managers get together to discuss and align on performance ratings. It makes sure that a high performer in marketing is measured by the same yardstick as a high performer in engineering, and that is so crucial for building trust. So, once you've fairly identified who your top performers are, the next logical step is to recognize them for their contributions, right? This brings us to compensation and rewards. Variable pay is how the system connects performance directly to someone's paycheck. This is the module that companies use to handle things like annual bonuses or commissions. It makes sure that those financial rewards are tied to achieving specific, measurable goals. And this is usually done in two steps. First, compensation eligibility rules figure out who is even in the running for a bonus or a raise. Then, managers use what are called compensation worksheets, think of them as super powerful digital spreadsheets, to plan out and dish out those rewards fairly and, of course, within budget. For our last section, we're going to zoom out a bit. We've journeyed through an individual employee's experience.
Now let's look at how the company uses all of that data from everyone to plan for the future.
This is the big question, isn't it? With all this amazing information about performance, skills, and career goals for every single person, what can a company's leadership actually do with it? How does it become truly strategic? Well, the answer starts right here, with workforce analytics. This is all about turning that mountain of raw data into actual insight. It helps leaders answer huge questions like, which department has the highest turnover? Or, are we promoting our top performers fast enough? This data makes one of the most powerful outcomes possible: succession planning. The system can help identify the next generation of leaders before they're even needed. It means that when a key role opens up, there's already a pipeline of talented people inside the company ready to step up. And this is what brings it all together. From hiring to performance to pay and even planning for future leaders, all these things that seem like separate pieces are actually part of one big, interconnected system. And that brings us to our final thought. When you have a single, unified view of your entire workforce and their journey, it's not just about making HR run a little smoother. It completely changes the kinds of questions you can ask and the future you can build. So, if every single part of the employee journey is connected, what becomes possible?